Welcome to today's 5-minute Bible study in the Acts of the Apostles. We spent our last few sessions looking at the conversion of the first Gentile household, that of Cornelius, the Roman centurion. And now the Acts is going to tell us the story of the first Gentile church. Now, so far, we've seen a Gentile family and household converted, but we're about to see the establishment of a predominantly Gentile church, a very significant moment in the early movement of Christianity. We're in Acts chapter 11, beginning our reading at verse 19. Now those who had been scattered by the persecution that broke out when Stephen was killed traveled as far as Phoenicia, Cyprus, and Antioch, spreading the word only among Jews. Now at this point, Acts takes us back to chapter 8 and the persecution that broke out against the church when Stephen was martyred. And we recall at that time, many of the, especially Greek-speaking Jews who lived in Jerusalem, were forced to leave the city and they spread to various places. Now primarily, we've looked at where Philip went, how he went to Samaria, taking the gospel there, how he met the Ethiopian eunuch, how he traveled to Caesarea. But now Luke, the author of Acts, kind of backs up and says, let me tell you about some of the rest of these people who were scattered. They also took the gospel with them. Some of them traveled up northward along the seacoast into Phoenicia, what is today Lebanon, and then into Syria. Some went to Cyprus, which is an island, you recall, just off the coast. And some went to the city of Antioch. Now, initially, they only preached the gospel to other Jews. Now remember, these are Greek-speaking Jews. That is, they're Jewish in their faith, but now followers of Jesus. But Greek is their primary language. They've been raised out of Palestine, so they're used to the wider Roman world. And so wherever they go in this wider Roman world, they go into the Jewish synagogues and preach the gospel to them. But in Antioch, a new movement begins. Some of them, it says, verse 20, men from Cyprus and Cyrene. Now, we don't know who these people were. We just know they were followers of Jesus. That would be wonderful if we knew their names, but we don't. Anyway, some of them in Antioch began to speak to Greeks also, telling them the good news about the Lord Jesus. The Lord's hand was with them, and a great number of people turned to the Lord. Some of them did what Peter had done with Cornelius. They took the bold step of going directly to Gentiles, those who had not converted to Judaism, and telling them directly about Jesus. And many of these Gentiles believed and became followers, and a strong church was established that was primarily Gentile. For Cornelius, it was just his household, which was significant, but still it's just a household. But now it's an entire church, a fast-growing church. Now we should say at this point that Antioch in Syria, which is where this is occurring, was a large metropolitan city, great Gentile city. It was actually the third largest city in the world at the time. Rome was the largest. Alexandria in Egypt was the second largest. Antioch was the third. It is a great city. And now you have a church established there of many, many Gentile Christians. Now news of this reached the church in Jerusalem. And so they sent Barnabas to Antioch. They heard about what was happening. Now the church has already decided, in the case of Cornelius, that Gentiles can come into the faith just by believing in Jesus. That principle is already established. But now you have all of these Gentiles coming. This is much more than a household. So somebody needs to supervise it. So they send Barnabas. Barnabas the encourager. Barnabas the one who recognized the authenticity of Saul's conversion. Oh, Barnabas, he was a perfect pick. He is sent to supervise the work. When he arrives and saw what the grace of God had done, he was glad. He encouraged them all to remain true to the Lord with all of their hearts. He was a good man. Yes, he was. He was full of the Holy Spirit and faith. A great number of people were brought to the Lord. Under Barnabas' leadership, the church continues to grow. It becomes a large church, lots of believers in Jesus Christ in the city of Antioch. Barnabas needs some help. And he remembers Saul. He said, Saul is the perfect man to help me lead this work. So Barnabas went to Tarsus to look for Saul. Now, you remember about 10 years ago, when the first persecution was going on, they had sent Saul, after his conversion, back to his hometown of Tarsus for his own safety. That was about a decade ago. Barnabas goes to find him. And when he found him, he brought him to Antioch. So for a whole year, Barnabas and Saul met with the church and taught great numbers of people. And so you have this first great Gentile church of believers led by Barnabas and Saul growing rapidly. It says one more thing that's very interesting to us. The disciples were first called Christians at Antioch. Previous to this time, followers of Jesus are just called followers of the way. But now they begin to be called Christians. And that's because they're in a Gentile city. They're in a Greek-speaking city, not a Jewish city. And so all these folks are hearing these new believers, this new movement, they're talking about Christ all the time. Now, Christ is simply the Greek word for Messiah. But for most Gentiles who are not Jewish, when they hear the name Christ, they don't think Messiah, they just think that's a person's name. So they said, these folks are talking about Christ all the time, we'll call them Christians. People who talk about Christ all the time, they're Christians. And so the first time the movement is called Christians, and it's in the city of Antioch. So for the first time now, we have a primarily Gentile church in the city of Antioch, and it's led by Barnabas and Saul. God's movement is advancing rapidly. It's spread across Judea, it's spread across Samaria, it's spread up the Phoenician seaboard, it's reached the great city of Antioch. And for the first time, you have a primarily Gentile church. Now the stage is set for the first great missionary endeavor that's coming soon. But we'll see that in one of our other sessions. Hope you have a great day today, and I hope you know the blessings of the Lord on you, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time in our next 5-minute study in the book of the Acts of the Apostles.